I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going to do this." And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
Brian, have we met before? I looked through my emails, and I have an email from a Brian Dean from like way back, from like OTCPicks.com.
It wasn't me back then. That was a different Brian Dean. No,
Wait, how many Brian Dean out there?
I went to school with a Brian Dean too. I was curious if you were Persian.
There's a few out there. There's like a famous Australian rules rugby player that I had to outrank for a while. When I first started, he was number one in Google for all the stuff, and I've slowly eliminated him. Yeah, and there's some math professor at Clemson I've also kind of destroyed. So now I'm like dominate the first page. But there used to be a lot, and now, as far as Google is concerned, there's only one.
You know what you should do? You should have an exploding topic article about Brian Dean.
Oh, yeah. He's blowing up right now.
How searches for you have gone up, 300% over the past 5 years. And here's what's next. Brian Dean is going to have a promo for his high-end newsletter that's only going to last 2 weeks. So you might as well get it now because he's exploding.
Exactly.
I just wrote marketing copy for you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll say, send me the invoice after the episode.
So, Brian, I've been reading your newsletter, Exploding Topics, and it's so fascinating. Every day, I get this new newsletter with the chart, and the chart always starts off in 2017, something was really small, and now in 2021, it's huge, and maybe in 2022, it's going to be even bigger. So, for instance, snail mucin has a 233% increase, since 2018, or because people are following this K-pop beauty trend. Korean cosmetic exports have grown an average of 26 per year since 2015. We'll get to snail mucin in a second, but every day you have this obscure data, whether it's about supplements or clothes or software, or there's one for a massage gun called Sportneer, and globally, searches for massage gun are up 3,233% in the past 2 years. Who would know, being economic lockdown, everybody would need massages so much. And then you say, what's next? Like, what does this mean for the overall trend? But what I'm always curious about is, and I'm just getting right to it, and we'll talk about some of the exploding topics, but I always want to know, what do I do with this information? Like, if I'm entrepreneurial minded, it seems like every one of these could be a business. Like, here's something I never heard of from January 12th. Searches for portable washing machines are up 144% over the last 5 years. And I'm looking at it, starts off small, it has spiked high. So what's a portable washing machine?
It's just like it sounds. It's a washing machine that you basically install in your sink. So the water flows in from your sink and the dirty water flows back into the sink. And it's, as people were really concerned about going to laundromats, and a lot of laundromats were closed, people they didn't have a hookup for a washing machine in their apartment, so they're looking for this portable washing machine solution, and that's why searches spiked for that.
And who even? I honestly have never even heard of a portable washing machine. Like, who even makes portable washing machines?
There's tons of them on Amazon. I'd never heard of them either, but there's portable everything now. Portable blenders are really big. It's kind of a meta trend that's a bunch of different portable things. Like portable bidets are trending right now too. People want a bidet that they can take on the road or just use in their house because they don't want to actually install a bidet in their house. So that's another portable device that's blowing up.
I see this one. So searches per month, 8.1K for portable bidet. Growth is 209% over the past 5 years. And so let's say this looks to me like, oh, okay, this is a trend that's going to continue, particularly now that people are getting back to traveling and people are also used to the comforts of home. I think what's happened is in this case, people are not comfortable anymore having the comforts of home and replacing it all day long with the discomforts of the office or travel or whatever. So let's say this, I feel this is a trend that's going to continue. And, you make a reasonable case about the growth, 209% growth, and then you always give a little bit of an argument of why this is happening, and you relate it to other products like portable fridge, portable washing machine, portable sauna, which we could talk about next. But what do I do with this? I think, oh, okay, I'm going to get in the portable bidet business. Maybe there's room for me still. Is it too late? Once I see it on Exploding Topics, your newsletter, is it too late for me to get into the business?
Usually not. We try to surface stuff pretty early and we especially focus on trends that aren't fads, that are trends that have legs that will probably continue based on our data. Impossible to predict the future, obviously, but we try to pick trends, especially the ones that we feature in the newsletter, that aren't fads, that are going to come and go, in a week. We want things that are going to be around for a year. So they're trends, but they're trends that have legs and lasting power. In terms of what you do with it, it depends. We have a few different use cases, and most people want these trends for investing purposes of some kind, whether it's investing in startups. VCs are our main, like we basically create the newsletter and our paid product for VCs. They want to know this stuff. So when a portable bidet startup comes in their office, they're like, oh my God, I've heard of that already. I mean, that's obviously a crazy example, but in terms of SaaS or another D2C category, VCs want to know this stuff. Also, people that sell on Amazon or run e-commerce sites, they want to know these trending product categories so they can put them on their site while the going's hot. And some big brands, sometimes they want to know what to get into next, right? They're a big company that has tons of divisions, and they're like, we need to make products. Oh, well, let's have a meeting about portable bidets and we can maybe make them.
Yeah, so like for instance, you said earlier this year, Red Bull ran a basement innovation competition, and out of 3,800 products, a portable washing machine came out on top. So you're looking all over the place for your data. So we'll get into what do I do with this information in a second, but like you do about 3 charts a day, and then you have charts for your pro product. Where do you get your data? Where do you look? How do you decide? You just spoke a little bit of how do you decide, but where do you get all this amazing data?
So we basically scrape it from different pockets of the web that tend to surface trends before they start to take off. So a big one is Reddit. So we basically scrape not most subreddits, but a lot of subreddits that tend to have conversations around technology or health, or even in health, we try to focus on subreddits where people are sort of on the cutting edge of this stuff. People that take freeze-dried organs and stuff like that. So we're looking at carnivore diet subreddits, the OMAD subreddit, where people are more likely to say, hey, I just heard of this thing on Instagram. Have you guys heard of it? And they put it out there. So basically we scrape that, we scrape Reddit, we scrape social media, podcasts, show notes, because those, a lot of times people just mention, oh, I just heard of this thing, blah, 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 and they mention it. We also look at shopping sites, so data from Amazon and other big e-commerce sites, and it basically scrapes millions and millions and millions and millions of these data points. And the algorithm says, this is a trend. This is not a fad. And it pulls it into a queue. And then we have a moderator who works part-time, but a lot, to curate all of the trends. And I would say for every 10 trends or 20 trends that it finds, one gets through, if that. It might be more like 1 to 50 now. We're a lot pickier than we used to be. So it's a lot of curation because there's just so much noise, especially with the news. You get like a news item it looks like a trend, but it's really going to, in 2 weeks, no one's going to be talking about it. So we have that curation process to make sure these are legitimate trends and not fads. We have conversations about all the time, like what's a trend, what's a fad, but you kind of know it when you see it.
So let's say I want to make portable bidets. What would be my first step, do you think? And I'm not saying that you're an expert on how to make all these products that you talk about. I appreciate that you're uncovering the trends, and it's up to the entrepreneur to figure it out. But I'm just always amazed, like, how do you make things?
You can go to Alibaba and find tons of factories that'll make it for you. You can also make a prototype yourself with 3D printing, which is what a lot of people do now, and then do a Kickstarter and raise money that way. And then when they get the funds, they can manufacture it. But 3D printing is usually how most people start with a physical product now. They create it, and then they take it to a factory and they say, can you make 1,000 of these, 10,000 of these?
Wow, so you can make something like a portable bidet with a 3D printer?
Definitely. That's easy to make because it's all plastic.
So, like, here's, for instance, a portable bidet that's $7, but a US site, hellotushy.com, it's $30. So is that, and we always talk about drop shipping is a side hustle. You should get into it. But is it realistic? Can I buy on Alibaba for $7 and then sell on Amazon or some other site for $30?
Yeah, it usually takes some more finessing than that. There's this rule, I forget what it's called. It's like 150 that a lot of people were doing. That was a trend like a year ago during the height of the pandemic, where people were buying these cheap products like a portable bidet for $7 or blue light blocking glasses, which were big. They'd buy these cheap ones for $7, create this brand, premium brand, like really high end to really emphasize the health benefits, something the cheap one wasn't doing. And then they would sell it for 50. So they buy, I think it was $5.50 or something, buy it for $5, sell it for 50. So these crazy margins. And people were doing that. Now, I have no idea how practical that is, but that's one way people are taking advantage of the trends, is they're buying these products for cheap and then slapping a different brand on them and selling them under their own brand on Amazon or on their own site.
Yeah, like there's a big public company, Mohawk, that does something like this. They'll take 100-year-old brands like Igloo ice boxes that don't really have an internet presence, but they've been around 100 years. And they'll go to the same factory in China and say, look, every other box now coming off the assembly line, put our brand on it. And then they game the Amazon algorithm, which Igloo has no clue Amazon even exists. And within days, they're number one on Amazon. And they do this for hundreds of SKUs, hundreds of millions of revenues. It's like a great thing. But I'm just always curious if like the drop shipping, I feel for a while that was a fad in side hustling, but I think it probably still works to some extent.
Probably, yeah. I mean, a new thing that's trending relates to that. It's called drop servicing.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that on one of your newsletters. Tell me about that one.
It's basically drop shipping for labor or services. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll go on Fiverr and find a gig that works well. They'll test out a bunch of gigs, find one where the person delivers something good, and then they'll look on Upwork and other job boards for projects related to that gig and charge, let's say, 50, and then they'll buy a Fiverr gig for $5 or $10, and then be the middleman between the two and just deliver the service to Fiverr, or just hire someone cheap.
There's an incredible arbitrage there. So it begs the question, why isn't someone who's using Upwork just go to Fiverr and do the same thing?
Because maybe people don't trust Fiverr. They're like, I don't trust Fiverr, but I trust Upwork, having no idea that the stuff they're getting is actually from Fiverr at the end of the day.
I might do that. For instance, I might use Upwork instead of Fiverr. And I say, look, I don't want to have to call India at 3 a.m. to find out if they're working on my job. I'm paying you to do this.
Right. And it's not shady at all. I mean, if you're doing the process, you're maybe testing out 20 Fiverr gigs, finding 2 that are good, you're doing the work of finding the 2 that are good, and you're just charging a premium for it. That person, like you or me, I'm the same way. I just go to Upwork and I'm like, I just want the best person. I'll pay whatever. But someone that's shopping around might go on Fiverr, but there's plenty of suckers like us who will happily pay somebody, and they're charging whatever. And I don't even care if it comes from Fiverr. If it's good and it's, the rate I agree to, I'm fine with it.
So here's one of the exploding topics. And this one I really relate to because I've got wax in one of my ears. I could barely hear out of one of my ears, and I just keep delaying going to the doctor. But searches for ear cleaning kits are up 226% over the last 2 years. What are they? Ear cleaning kits typically contain silicone wax removers, metal picks, irrigation systems, and I guess it cleans out your ear, something I need. And I wondered to myself, Why did I never think to like buy one of these or make one of these? Again, it's such a great entrepreneurial thing. How did you
Yeah.
come across this?
That one, I mean, I don't know that one in specific. I mean, we track like almost 10,000 trends right now. So I don't know where all of them came from, but that one sounds like it came from Amazon. That's usually one of those niche products that wives are buying for their husbands, it sounds like, because I know my wife bought one for me. So,
And then does Amazon track let you see the data of how much it's up over the past 2 years?
no, no, we don't. We use our own proprietary thing for determining a proprietary system for determining the searches that are going up. But for finding the actual term, Amazon just, I mean, they're all public, the product pages, and they also have a trending section on their site. So they feature trending stuff. Most of it's, specific products that aren't that good. But if you scrape enough of Amazon and just query it and say, how many searches it's getting? How is it growing? You'll find some gems in there.
So I'm gonna go to Alibaba for ear cleaning kit, $1 or $2, and here's an earwax removal kit at Walmart for $22. So clearly
Yeah,
that's a
there you go.
profitable business. How would you go about like getting branding? Or how do you see people getting branding for stuff like this? Like how do they get known once they start doing it?
Mostly they don't. These people, most of them, if they're just they're just going to be like, I'm going to be the ear cleaning kit brand. They just create fly by night brands and just go full Instagram, Facebook ads. Most of them don't have any organic presence. Maybe they do a little bit of Instagram. It depends on the trend. Like if you're like, oh, I see this trend of ear health, and I want to create this ear health product brand where I do ear cuffs and ear seeds, which is big too now, which are
What's an
basically
ear
magnets.
seed?
It's basically these magnets you put in your ear that are like acupressure, and they're supposed to heal different stuff. My acupuncture guy actually uses them. But yeah, so if you're like, I want to create this ear health brand, some people are creating entire brands around these trends. But most of them that are going after these specific products are just buying them from Alibaba or somewhere cheap, creating a Facebook ads campaign and just crushing it on there because they know Facebook ads. They know nothing about fulfillment. So like you said, it's mostly drop shipping in that case.
So like for instance, they do a Facebook ad, they collect the orders, and then they tell the Chinese factory where to send all the products.
Exactly. Kind of like you're saying with Igloo. They don't know anything about digital marketing, but they know how to make an awesome cooler. It's the opposite. These guys know how to run Facebook ads. They know how to create a brand really quickly, get it off the ground, start running Facebook ads. They have no idea how to actually create a product or do product development. So they just buy stuff off the shelf that they can pretty much get right away from Alibaba or somewhere.
I love this one, magnesium gummies, because I hear all the time, you need more magnesium, you need more magnesium, but I hate taking supplements and pills and stuff, but I love gummy bears. So this was a trend. Let me look up what the statistics were that you say. I wrote down magnesium gummies in my notes. And I think this was a recent one. Yeah, this is from a couple weeks ago, July 13th. They're high-dose magnesium supplements in gummy form. Studies suggest that up to 75% of people don't meet their recommended daily intake of magnesium, which is leading to increased demand for magnesium gummy bears. And the supplement category has grown from 8 million to 14 million over the past 2 years. And sales of supplements have grown by magnesium gummy supplements have grown by 130%. So again, I would go to Alibaba and say, hey, I want James's magnesium gummies. And then I would just go all over the place advertising, doing classic marketing for gummy bears.
Exactly. Or say you're a supplement brand and you want to create a blog post or a video about magnesium gummies. Now you're going to get in on this keyword early before it starts to take off. So that's another way that you can use it. You don't necessarily have to like create a product around each of them. All of that's obviously what most people are going to do.
Now, do you need any kind of FDA approval to sell like a vitamin supplement?
No. Famously, you don't. There's no regulation at all. I mean, you're liable if you produce something like that that hurts people, but there's almost no regulations with supplements.
So in this one, you say you use data from retail analytics company ClearCut. So there's a lot of companies out there also that you pay a lot of money to see these high-end reports. What does ClearCut do?
They're like a online retail analytics company. They track sales and things of that nature. That was just a stat we pulled from there. But yeah, there is a lot of these services that are like market research that they have proprietary data from who knows. Some of them you have no idea if it's like Ukrainian spyware, whatever, but to get it, and you can buy it. So some of it's useful for supporting some of the trends. Like if you look at portable washing machines, you're like, I don't know anything about this. Sometimes it's good to supplement with these other services and figure out how many people are actually buying this stuff instead of just searching for it. What is the average sale? How much are people making on Amazon per month, which you can estimate using some tools, things like that.
And what's some of the? I mean, all these topics always amaze me because I think to your curation, and none of these things I've ever heard. Most of these things I've never heard of before. Like even in industries which I'm familiar with, like I didn't know what a credit builder card was, but you say searches for credit builder cards are up 1,257% over the last 5 years. And a credit builder card is a credit card designed for people with no credit history or low credit scores. So to reduce the bank's risk, these cards are typically secured by a refundable deposit in the amount of the credit limit. So what does that mean? Somebody gives me a credit builder card, and then they give me $100 limit, and I give them $100 just so I could build my credit score.
It's basically a debit card that's not tied to a bank, and it doesn't withdraw from your bank account. You have a credit on the credit card, so it builds up your credit score, but you can't ever like default on or anything. And there's interest payments and all that stuff, but usually the limit is like $100, $500 or something like that. But they're blowing up because so many people have bad credit, and it's hard to get a credit card with bad credit. So these are like a hack that people are using. They're getting these credit cards with these tiny limits and just buying stuff, paying it off, buying stuff, paying it off, and that pumps up their credit score.
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main, that's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com.
You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players, and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply. Back to snail mucin, which I love. Apparently, this is a great beauty product in the Korean cosmetic exports trend, which has grown 26% per year, which is a huge growth. What would I do with snail mucin?
I mean, you put it on your face.
I'm just pounding you on it.
I don't mind. I'm just saying, for snail mucin, if you're a beauty brand that's like, oh, let's go, what category are we going to go into next? This might be something that wasn't even on your radar screen. And now you're like, let's look into this. And even if you don't end up making a snail mucin topical cream, you might say, let's look at some other K-beauty products that are trending, because K-beauty is just blowing up right now. So let's look at some other K-beauty products that we can include, or create a K-beauty regimen. K-beauty is this like 11-step process you do every night. So let's position our products that you use 11 of them at night, just like K-beauty. So there's different ways to go about it, but how you'd actually get snail mucin, that one's going to be a lot harder than Alibaba, because it's literally the slime from a snail in an extract.
You know what's also interesting though is, and you've pointed this out in many different letters, how in almost every category subscription boxes are trending up, and in part this was due to the economic lockdown. Like I, for the first time, started getting subscription box meals during the lockdown to try to eat healthy. And I really enjoyed the whole subscription box thing. I didn't think I would. So potentially someone could make a K Beauty subscription box for the drop shippers themselves. Like we'll send you all the basic ingredients, you brand it however you want.
Yeah, that's smart. Like combining the two things, combine the two trends. That people like subscription boxes, so
There's subscription boxes in almost every category.
oh yeah, there's tons of them. I mean, the big one now is like international food. So snacks from Japan and Korea and all these international snacks, Colombia, that you can get these snacks every month that are very exotic. Like because as I'm sure you know, James, from going overseas, sometimes you see this chips, you're like, what is that? Like it doesn't even look great. There's like a squid on the package. So you can get those every month, and those are blowing up right now. Like Baksu box, that's the big Japanese one, an Asian one. That one's up like 5,000% over the last 5 years or something like that. 79, actually I have it right here, 7,900%.
I feel like you need a lot of energy to get into one of these businesses because you can't you have to actually deal with physical products. And so there's only so many. Like if I were to make a bet on a physical product to sell, you're betting that the product is trending upwards, but that's the research I get through you. You're betting that you can execute on it and make it. You're betting that you can do marketing better than the other. A lot of these are not quite commodities, but like, as you say, there's many competitors who see these trends, and that's why it's trending upwards. And you have to kind of do marketing better than all of them. So how do you think if I were to and if I'm listening to this and thinking, I want to check out the Exploding Topics newsletter and see, what's the latest massage gun? What's the latest snail mucin? What's the latest, anti-aging gummy bear? Where I like these prebiotics gummy bears. Or there was one bladder rack, which
the seaweed.
But it's a form of seaweed rich in iodine and magnesium and vitamin C. And it can treat thyroid disorders, inflammation, heartburn, anxiety, and more, or soothe irritated. See, I thought it was for the bladder, actually, but now I'm reading this, and it's for all these other things. And it's part of the food-grade beauty products meta trend. How would I, listening to this, decide which one to do?
I mean, there's a couple of things. One is like, do you have an interest or specialty in that area? And I should point out, there are some, we have plenty of trends that aren't physical products, video that are SaaS.
A lot of software trends.
Yeah, a lot, because that's obviously huge. Crypto trends are obviously huge. NFTs, DeFi, decentralized finance. But yeah, in terms of the physical products, part of it would be like, what can I bring to the table? Because like you said, James, anyone can just make a bladder whack supplement or make a portable bidet. But if you're interested in that, if you're passionate about that area, that space, then you're going to have an edge over everybody else when you launch it. Or if you have an existing audience in that space. So let's say you're like an influencer in the health space. You're like, I launched my own portable bidet. You're going to sell them more than some random person with no audience. So yeah, a lot of these products are also influencers are creating their own brands and selling this stuff on their own. They're looking at these products that are trending, creating their own branded version and selling them to their audience who are super loyal, as you know.
Well, what are the ones that you've seen recently that excite you the most? Software or physical or whatever?
Yeah, well, the interesting one for me is all the video production software, and that space
you
is
mentioned
huge.
Video Proc.
Yeah, Video Proc, Veed is another one that's big right now. UCut, Video Leap. They're just these very accessible video editing tools, because I think, James, you're like me. You've been in the game for a while. You remember how it used to be to edit a video. It was like you had to have a PhD. No, it was impossible.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Now they're basically like not as easy as uploading a video to Instagram, but not that far off. They have all these intuitive features. They stripped out a lot of stuff. And the same with podcasting, like the script and things like that. There's a lot of action in that space. So I like that space a lot. I have a YouTube channel. So I have someone edit my videos, but even the ones I make on my phone, I'm always like, I wish it was an easier way to edit this. It's always so complicated. And now there's software launched from the start just for people that aren't tech savvy, just for people to post on social media.
And they kind of take one or two features and make it very easy to do those features, like a jump cut or something like that.
Exactly. So you just click a button and it does a thing. Like it's more or less you've uploaded a video that's just like 5 minutes. You can just use your finger. A lot of them are mobile apps. You could just drag the area you want to cut it, put it together. You can do transitions and fades and graphics and all that stuff. And it's just, if you've used one, it's like a revelation that I can't believe it wasn't always like this. I can't believe I was messing around.
I think some people might be listening to this and say, well, I don't know software. How would I do it? But it's really not that hard to hire on Fiverr or freelance or whatever, somebody who will do it for maybe a few $1,000s, and it's a simple app, and they'll set you up in the app store. There might even be easier ways. There's no code sites now. No code is a big thing that's trending. So like, how would you make a simple video editing piece of software?
Yeah, I would also outsource. I don't know how to code myself. I have a co-founder that is the coder that developed the whole system and algorithm that we use, and he would be able to build it in like a day. But for me, I would definitely be on Upwork saying, I need help. I don't even know what to do. But not all software has to be that complicated, right? I mean, one of the trends, a startup that we found super early that just got acquired was Wave. I don't know if you're familiar with them, James, as a podcaster. It's basically software to help you share clips from your podcast. Because as you know, no one wants to watch a whole podcast like on Twitter or on YouTube. So people like to splice them up. And this was a way to take audio from your podcast that's maybe like 30 seconds and share it on Twitter. And just, they made it easy. I'm sure like the tech behind it's not that complicated. They're not ex-Google engineers. They're actually a couple of guys in South Carolina, and they built this thing, took it to like 1.5 million ARR and just sold it a couple months ago. So the software doesn't have to, and they just got into that trend that was like podcasts. People were creating podcasts and they didn't know how to get the word out, and they made it a little bit easier.
How did they get the word out?
They said they use mostly SEO. In the beginning, they reached out to podcasts and they they basically give podcasters free accounts. And we're like, hey, we'll hook you up with a free account. You can just share your clips. And podcasters, I don't know if all of them, but a lot of them are like, this is great. This is helpful. Right now I'm just sharing my whole hour on YouTube. No one's watching. I don't know how to share a clip on social media. I'm not tech savvy. And they made it so you could just take a clip from an episode and share it on Twitter really easily. And it plays within Twitter and it plays within Facebook. So you don't have to go to the person's site. So that was, kind of innovative in a way, but like you said, like it's definitely something like you said, James, you could get an Upwork. Someone could do that for you.
What do you see trending in crypto?
The big thing is like our accessible DeFi products. So things related to like either staking or just savings accounts, crypto savings accounts, things that are more mainstream. So I've seen in the last couple of months this transition from, I call it like DeFi 1.0 to DeFi 2.0, which is DeFi 1.0 was like the infrastructure behind it all. That's where you have like blockchains and protocols and all that stuff. That's the layer. That's kind of like the old, the internet. And now we're seeing like the World Wide Web on top of that. And that's where all these very accessible, like BlockFi is a huge one. That's just an accessible way to do all this stuff. Now, Coinbase is kind of an example, but they only do crypto. But if you wanted to like create a crypto savings account and do staking on it, you can't do that. And there's plenty of new startups that are coming out or about to launch that are in that space that are just making it more accessible. This whole like kind of what was a shady thing, trading crypto and all that stuff. So, and actually we're seeing a lot of action in NFTs. It's not totally dead, especially in fashion. So a lot of brands are launching NFT versions of their shoes, of their, shorts or whatever. And those are still growing as searches for NFTs are dropping. So there's probably niche use cases for NFTs that are going to stick around. And it looks like fashion is one of them. In fact, a VC reached out to me after we featured one in a newsletter a little while ago. And he was like, we're really getting into this space. Like, who do you guys know in this space? NFT fashion is going to be like the next big thing.
I don't even understand. Like, why would someone buy like a digital image of a shoe instead of a shoe?
You're talking to the wrong. I mean, some of them, one digital shoe sold for 25 grand. It was a pair, actually. I should say a pair of shoes. But when it's digital, it doesn't matter if it's one or two, which is to me is craziness. But like NFT, and that was after NFTs, like that whole NFT craziness died down. So they're still selling despite the NFT craze sort of leveling out.
What's one of the pro trends that you've seen recently that have kind of blew you away? And I should mention the Exploding Topics Pro is your for-pay service. I don't know how you distinguish between the topics and what you do differently.
Yeah, I mean, most of it is we feature them early, so you get earlier access to the topics. We don't share them for like at least 6 months to a year
Wow.
outside of the pro. So the big one that's really interesting for me is our cleaning tablets. That is this kind of like niche trend that these companies are getting funded left and right, and no one is talking about them. They're basically, instead of buying a bulk thing of laundry detergent or dishwashing liquid, you get a tablet that you can dilute and use the same container over and over again. So it's like an eco-friendly version. And a lot of these are subscription based. So they're these startups that are like, instead of buying your laundry detergent at the store, we'll send you these tablets, on repeat once a month. And they only sell that way. They only sell D2C and they only sell in tablet form. And those are like, for me, that's an interesting one that we share that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. And a lot of these companies are getting not huge funding rounds, but like seed funding rounds. So there's some traction there. They're already getting sales, already getting customers, and it's recurring revenue, which is pretty rare, for the
Because they're doing the
product
subscription
space.
thing?
You can only get them from by subscription, and people are happy to do it because it's eco-friendly approach, which people are really concerned about single-use plastic, right? So you can get instead of, sometimes they have pictures like 100 dishwashing liquid containers. It's like a tiny pack of tablets, and you just dilute them in your house.
How do you stand out in that space?
A lot of influencer marketing. So there's a lot of influencer marketing about like minimalist lifestyle, eco-friendly, kind of like mommy blogs, but on Instagram. Those natural mommy blogs where
Yeah.
they share their recipes and stuff, but they've kind of moved to Instagram, and they'll share their like, oh, I just look at this cleaning tab. I just used it and it turned into like a gallon of dishwashing liquid that I can use, and sponsored by whatever.
I would think
That's a big
influencer
one.
marketing would be very successful. Like if you find a good TikToker and you say, listen, I use this cleaning tablet for all my laundry and, I'm trying to live a healthier lifestyle, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, influencer marketing is overall trending up only a little bit, but like you said, James, TikTok is huge. Like searches for TikTok influencers are up 99x over the last 5 years. It's just like completely going crazy because all these Instagram influencers are really expensive. They're not even responding to a lot of outreach. And on TikTok, like you said, people are just more engaged there, and influencers are more likely to team up with you, basically. And that's another one that's in the paid that we talk about a lot now is media on the blockchain. So blockchain tech, instead of using it for currency, using it for media, like Audius, which is like Spotify on the blockchain, LivePeer, which is like streaming, like Twitch on the blockchain. Because a lot of people are concerned about censorship on these platforms. So they're creating basically blockchain decentralized versions of social media networks. And it's really early with this stuff, but they're really interesting because it's decentralized, but also because they're monetizing the creators directly. So for example, with Steemit, which is kind of like a Facebook on the blockchain, you get paid for actually posting engaging content. So when people engage with their content, you get paid with it. So it incentivizes you to post engaging stuff. So for me, that's another area that's really cool.
So it seems like you have the Exploding Topics Pro. Here's another idea for you. You should do Exploding Topics How To. So for each product, the 4Pay version of today's issue will tell me how step by step how I can implement each product. And maybe you pick one of the topics and you do an interview with someone who's who's generated 1,000x growth in the past year, something like that.
That's a good idea.
I would pay for that.
You want to get into the portable bidet space?
I would certainly read about someone who's doing it.
Okay.
I would pay for that. And then, or magnesium gummies. I would pay. Like, how do you make a gummy bear? I would want to know. Or maybe there's even like on these sites like Flippa or Empire Builders where you could buy small businesses. Maybe there's businesses for sale even doing some of these things. And then another thing is, have you ever thought about doing some kind of like small private equity fund or venture capital firm or something like that's based on the newsletter?
Yes, I definitely have. And I mean, I've invested in stuff we find in the crypto space because that's just the easiest to get started. Like you see an altcoin blowing up and you just invest in it. But other than that, I'm an angel investor myself. So I've definitely considered creating something around this to find these startups early, reach out to them, maybe before they have funding, like an angel seed round, reach out to them and say, we're trending, we want to get involved.
Like with crypto, is there any specific kind of chatter you see before an altcoin goes from one exchange to being uplisted to a more important exchange?
Oh yeah, there's usually a huge spike. A lot of times by then it's not too late, but it depends on the coin. But usually I try to find them when they're still on those shady exchanges. That's when the real growth is. Not always. There's some that go on, a big one, and they still continue to grow. But the real growth is usually those early stages. But it depends. Usually it's like for altcoins, it's like a spike as it comes out. So the ICO, then it drops off, and then it gets momentum behind it. People into the projects. Maybe they announced a new project. It starts to blow up, and then it's kind of dips, and then it goes on the other main, a bigger exchange like Kraken or whatever, and it starts to blow up. So that second, I usually don't get involved in ICOs and that, but that second spike is usually pretty solid.
Yeah, if you see like a kind of common trend in the chatter about it before it gets uplisted to a Kraken or something like that, that might be an interesting newsletter just all by itself, just a crypto-based one.
That's a good idea.
So, I mean, I think there's so many ways you could build your business, which is why I always love getting the newsletter in the email and opening it and seeing, oh, snail mucin, time to research this little business idea. But I would pay more. I would pay to see like interviews with people who are doing it and how they're doing it. Like, I think that could be, an exciting, even if it's just one topic a week or one topic every 2 weeks, you could build a really good database of stories that you could access, and that people want to know how to do these things. Like, I'm always at a loss, and I've built plenty of businesses, but I'm always at a loss, like how to start a business in a brand new industry, like just all the details.
Yeah, same here. That's why most of our target audience are investors, because they don't have to worry about someone else worries about that, right? They just invest in the company, and the people they invest in, they're doing all the legwork, or the drop shippers or whatever. But there are plenty of people that have created entire products around stuff they've seen in the newsletter or on the site and been successful with it. And so it's definitely possible. But like you said, that's kind of a young man's game, I think, making your own portable bidet. I'm like you. I'm like, I can't really be bothered with that. But I think there's some truth to what you're saying, that it would be helpful to have some follow-up steps. Like, say you wanted to actually create a snail mucin's topical cream. What's the first step? Because I personally don't know. So I'd be curious to know that too.
Yeah. Well, Brian, these are so many interesting topics and trends, and I definitely encourage people to get your newsletter. I get it, every week. I guess I get it once a week. I don't get the pro, but I should get the pro. It sounds like it's worth it, and you should come on again every couple of months. Tell us the latest trending topics.
Anytime, James. Happy to do it.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Brian. And this has been really fun. And it's so many interesting things to research once I start reading your newsletter. I always tell, don't go back to an office now. Like, offices, I don't want to say they're always deadening and you could meet friends and you could do meaningful work in an office, but to explore at least these topics as you do, and then to kind of be creative about how you can make it and market it and sell it and be different. You're going to fail a lot, but when it succeeds, it really feels good. You make money and it's worth it. So thanks again for doing this.
No problem, James. Thanks for having me.
Wounded Warrior Project helps post 9/11 veterans and their families realize what's possible. With support and resources that bring warriors together and empower them to become stronger, both inside and out.
It's possible to begin healing.
To get the help you need.
To find peace.
And as each warrior's needs evolve, so do we. Because these last 20 years are just the beginning. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/together.